Hello, so I want to start this video with something very practical. I got a message earlier from Google, and it was saying that my account had been suspended. I got back into the Google search section of it, but my YouTube account had been temporarily apparently suspended. I could get no access to my videos, at least when I typed in my own username, centrist philosopher, it came up videos unavailable. And I thought this was very strange. And they cited in this sort of explanation multiple violations. I emailed them and there's been no response so far. I followed the little direction as to what to do next. This was very strange because whilst I'm very outspoken in these videos, I can't. I'm racking my mind to think how I would violate community guidelines. I mean, I don't upload my videos and go and just put them on random people's groups as spam. So I really don't know what that is. Anyway, it seems to have been resolved, thank goodness. Maybe it was just a human error. Maybe there was a mistake. But I have a clean conscience, so I know I haven't done anything to deserve that. And it's just a bit strange. Anyway, if that happens, if they suspend my account, that's my explanation. You know, I don't really know what's going on. But if you suddenly wonder why I haven't uploaded any more videos or why you can't reach my videos, hopefully you'll have seen this one. That's the reason why. Anyway, with that out of the way, actually the subject I'm talking about maybe isn't entirely unrelated because it's about freedom of expression, which is what I'm doing in these videos. I'm expressing my views. Um, So there was an incident. I don't know if it was yesterday. It may have been the day before, but it was at the University of the West of England in Bristol, and the Conservative MP Jacob Rees-Mogg was giving a speech. I don't know what the speech was about. I don't know. I haven't seen the full context of that speech. That's frankly immaterial. Presumably, he was talking about Brexit or other ideas that he advocates. Jacob Rees-Mogg is on the right of the party. He's popular among backbench Tory MPs, and he's kind of the poster boy for those who feel that May and her inner circle are too soft on Brexit. But the point is, he is an elected politician, and he has a right to do his job, to advocate his opinions, and do his job. Part of an MP's job is by promoting their ideas in a peaceful way, right? So, particularly in the university context, I think it's totally appropriate. Now, during his speech, a number of activists interrupted aggressively. They were wearing masks, all guys on this occasion, and the footage is available isn't very long, it's about half a minute, but basically jostling him. It's pretty aggressive. One guy looks like he's throwing a punch. Thankfully, I don't think anyone was seriously hurt, but they're shouting racist and so on, other such tirades at Jacob Rees-Mogg. Now, there's a significant background to this. A few days ago, John McDonnell apparently made a speech. This is Labour Shadow Chancellor, if you don't know, made a speech in which he said he wanted a situation whereby Conservative MPs could not go anywhere in the country and feel comfortable, i.e., anywhere they go, they would face direct action. Now, I see this as a direct consequence of McDonnell's speech. I'm not saying these activists specifically acted on that, but when you have a senior politician, and let's be clear, John McDonnell is the second most powerful figure in the Labour Party. Some would argue he's more powerful than Corbyn. If you want to make an analogy in left wing politics, he's almost like Joe Stalin to Corbyn's Lenin. Okay, I'm not saying it's that bad, but there are very serious questions about this man because he could end up in number 11. He could end up as the second most powerful person in the country. The Conservatives are very divided right now, so there are some very serious questions about John McDonnell in particular. John McDonnell was central to the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn, to Corbyn becoming leader. He was his campaign manager. The two men are close friends. This says a lot about Jeremy Corbyn's judgment as well. Now, John McDonnell has always been well to the left of the party. That would be one thing. If it was just a case that he was an original old Labour and he was being true to that, okay. But when you have someone who is operating in a democratic system, who is calling basically for the harassment of political opponents, that is very unsettling. And anyone who truly is a Democrat should be concerned by that. And it's not the first time McDonnell has hit controversy. He called Esther McVey a stain on humanity. Now, I understand that politics opinions get heated, and I am no fan of Esther McVey. I do think she has done some pretty disgraceful things. I think her attitude to the unemployed is disgusting and reprehensible. But when you're a senior figure in Her Majesty's opposition, you have a certain degree of responsibility. He joked, apparently, that she should be lynched. Now, it's one thing if someone is really struggling to get by, they face work capability assessments, they're being treated appallingly by the Department of Work and Pensions. You could sort of understand, although it wouldn't be condonable, those sort of sentiments. John McDonnell, as far as I'm concerned, has no excuse for being a demagogue. This is a man in a very powerful position, and he needs to start acting responsibly. His response to Grenville was to call it murder. That, in my view, is inflaming an already very tense situation. People had lost everything. They were angry, they were in pain, emotionally and physically. And for someone in his position to come in there and basically stir the flames was utterly abhorrent. Now, it would be justified for him to do his job and demand answers, demand an inquiry, etc., etc. But John McDonnell has a track record of demagoguery. This is a man who has appeared under portraits of Stalin at the Durham Miners Gala, which is not far from where I live. And I know that to be a fact. I've been to the Durham Miners Gala, and yeah, there are people there that are outright communists. They wave communist banners. I'm not talking about Keir Hardie and Clement Attlee. I'm talking about outright communists, Lenin and Stalin. And it's no exaggeration. So when the old left and the hard left say, oh, but socialism isn't communism, they do bugger all to condemn communism. They do absolutely nothing to distance themselves from this. So then you do wonder, well, what is the difference? If you're not prepared to call out a totalitarian ideology, I mean, put it this way. What if Theresa May had a fascist sympathizer as her advisor? they she would be forced out of office tomorrow because of bad judgment. I think there are some rather unpleasant figures in the Conservative Party, and I do think that that party has a lot to answer for in terms of how they have treated some of the most vulnerable people in this country. And I want to be very clear here. I would echo what Majid Nawaz has said. The issue here is not about sympathising with the Conservatives. It's not about sympathising with Jacob Rees-Mogg. This is bigger than that. I don't particularly like Jacob Rees-Mogg. I don't like his views. I think he represents everything that is wrong with the Conservative Party. Um, and I do think that he appeals to a pretty hard right aspect of the Conservative Party. But he is a democratically elected politician. He has a right to speak. I would defend John McDonnell's right to speak. But when you have McDonnell appearing, another thing that McDonnell done was appear on Russia Today. As far as I'm concerned, that's tantamount to treason. Russia Today is a state mouthpiece of a hostile foreign state. This is not an exaggeration. Check it out. If you don't believe me, check it out. John McDonnell has appeared on Russia Today. So has Jeremy Corbyn, unless I'm mistaken, which, in my opinion, legitimizes Russia Today. Russia Today, as far as I'm concerned, and many people share this view, is a Kremlin mouthpiece. It's not an objective news source. It's a source for extreme Russian neo-nationalism. I call it Putin news because that's what it is. My issue is not John McDonnell having strong views about Tory austerity. I think it is important to have a left right dynamic in a democracy. So I've no problem with people having views that are far more left wing than mine. That's good, that's healthy. And you do need people on the left who are challenging Tory ideology. That's fine. But if you truly believe in democracy, then this is much bigger than Jacob Rees-Mogg. I mean, as Majid Nawaz pointed out, there's now Oxford University academics are frightened to speak out, to give lectures on certain subjects because of the backlash. And what you see happening is these bands of primarily young, sometimes they're a bit older, primarily young people who are basically they're Britain's equivalent of the Red Guards. Now, thankfully, there's far less violence. I'm not suggesting people are being mass murdered. Okay, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's not that bad. But the implications are very concerning because with the Tory party in disarray at the moment, Theresa May is very unpopular with her own party. There's a real chance that they might not win the next general election. So there is actually a real chance that Corbyn's hard left Labour will get into power. And looking at his front bench, I can't think of a single moderate person. Emily Thornberry is probably the most moderate. I don't much like her personality. I think she's very pompous. McDonnell is basically a communist. Corbyn, at best, has shown bad judgment by the people he surrounds himself with. His advisor is a Stalin apologist. Diane Abbott is far left and a racist at that. So you really have to wonder. And yes, there are unpleasant figures in the Conservative Party as well. But here's the thing: Jacob Rees-Mogg is a backbencher, so he's not in the same position of power as John McDonnell is. But regardless, even if he was, trying to shut down anyone in that way is reprehensible. If these protesters wanted to challenge if they wanted to challenge Jacob Rees-Mogg, they should have sat there, put their hands up when the questions came, and challenged him. They'd be well within the right to do so. And I do want to see Jacob Rees-Mogg challenge on some of his views. That's democracy. I've no problem with right wingers being robustly challenged. In fact, I want to see it. But if that's the case, I want to see John McDonnell robustly challenged. And think if this was the other way around. Think if you had groups of young conservatives going to wherever John McDonnell turns up and yelling, "You're a communist traitor." It would be unpleasant. In my opinion, it would be borderline truth, actually. But the man's not a Democrat. He is behaving like a populist demagogue. He's showing contempt for democracy by advocating harassment of political opponents. That is disturbing. And no matter how strongly you feel against the Conservative Party, it is the left that is primarily doing this. So, I mean, as Majid Nawaz pointed out, this is not a victory for the left. It's not a blow at the Conservatives. It actually damages those of us who do want to challenge the ideology of Tory austerity and the damage it is causing. Because there is some awful things going on. The way unemployed people are treated, in my opinion, is disgusting. Work capability assessments and so on. So I don't have blinkers on as to how angry people feel about the Conservative Party right now. But ultimately, you have to stand by democratic ideals. It means you do these things peacefully. That's the way that Labour will get into power, not through thuggery. Um, so I just find it very unsettling. And it is right that the Conservatives are condemning this. And I hope moderate people in Labour will condemn it as well. But the problem is now that momentum has taken over Labour, the moderates are being sidelined. Momentum claims that they're peaceful. They claim that they're democratic. I think they have a lot of questions to answer. How they justify this sort of behaviour. Now they will say, "Oh, there's no evidence these people were momentum activists," but really, it doesn't take too much digging at the surface to see that it's all connected. that these far left groups, and they are entirely far left activists, they're all ideologically sympathetic to each other. And I'm not talking about the left. I think there's many reasonable uh, left wing people who would condemn this. I saw on the news comment about this a lot of Labour supporters saying they were against it. McDonnell is a cheerleader for this sort of stuff, you know? And it is absolutely, if you look at the sort of thing that's been going on in Corbyn's Labour, there's some very nasty elements going on. With good cause, his Labour can be called the new nasty party. So, yes, they may be talking about the plight of the homeless, which is a serious problem right now. They may be talking about a lot of legitimate subjects. But I think their credibility is being seriously damaged by these totalitarian instincts. And that is a very serious problem because that means we won't have an efficient opposition. And I find that very sad. The Liberal Democrats would be that opposition, except they're too small. So if you support Labour, I understand that. I understand why many people um, are sick and tired of Tory austerity and want to get rid of it. But if you really do believe in democracy, this goes beyond Jacob Rees-Mogg, right? This potentially has implications on all of us. Because at its core, Corbyn's Labour has some very totalitarian streaks. I've heard people say, oh, it's just democratic socialism in the Nordic model. No, I don't accept that. Someone who panders to Russia today, someone who calls for the harassment of political opponents, that's not moderate politics. And by moderate politics, and I'll close with this point, I'm not talking about having no passion. I'm not talking about having no conviction. I think you could be very angry, but very effective without using those sort of tactics. Anger is legitimate. In fact, I think you'd be a robot if you didn't feel angry about certain issues. I certainly do. But you have to go about things the right way. And shouting down someone will never, ever give you the upper hand. It just won't. It will make you look like an aggressive bully, regardless of who the person is. I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're a neo Nazi. When you shout someone down, you're showing that you are a totalitarian. It's as simple as that. And I'll leave it there. Like I say, I don't know what the situation with YouTube is. Hopefully, that was just a fluke. If I get taken off air, for want of a better term, I don't know the reason why. Um, because I'm being outspoken, I'm being honest, but I'm not harassing anyone. I'm not calling for violence or anything like that. So it's a bit of a mystery what happened earlier. Thanks for watching.